Okay, here we are with another chat with Pat. Today we're going to do an album that Pat has chosen and take it away.
Well, the album today is Daytona Bleach by the Monowhales. It was just released actually just a very short time ago. I'd say within the last month to 6 weeks. The Monowhales have been together for, I think, since about 2014. I met Sally Shar, who appears to be the driving force. She's a little spitfire, is Sally, multi-talented, great singer, songwriter, performer. She loves mosh pits and throwing herself off the stage and into the audience. I've photographed her doing that a few times. They are, their music is pop. What really made them famous was a song it was called Home. It was released in 2016 and it became hugely popular. It was sort of a love letter to the city of Toronto, but also a love letter for anybody who, whatever space they call home. They ended up all over the media and on all of the local TV stations. So it made them instantly recognizable, and they ended up with a number of awards because of Home. Their style is rock, alternative. They're indie and a local indie band out of Toronto, so indie pop or pop rock. Daytona Bleach, according to Sally, and I'm just going to read something here, she said, was a labor of love and spiteful eyes. She had spent a lot of time in Florida when she was younger, but the beach isn't what it used to be. She says, you wear sandals so that broken beer bottles don't slice you up. And it became sort of an analogy to all the chemical stuff that's going on in the world. So instead of Daytona Beach, it became Daytona Bleach. The Monowhales were actually I believe a 5-piece when they very first started out, down to a 4-piece. Now they're a 3-piece. The young woman who was the keyboard player has actually left them to teach musical therapy. So as Sally says, they're a group that plays in extremes, but this particular album is a growth period for them. All or nothing, out with the old, he said, she said, Daytona Bleach, they're all contradictions, and basically for people who deal in extremes. So it was basically their hearts coming out in this particular album. They used to be called the Ginger Ale and the Monowhales. And
terrible title for a band.
Yeah, they just changed their name, I guess, about the last 18 months or so. The first half of the name is meant to be sweet, bubbly, charismatic, sort of, what they were trying to portray. The second part of the name actually came from a painting that was on the side of an overpass on the Don Valley, the Monowhales. And it was a picture of a monowhale that was painted on the side of the overpass, a big blue monowhale wearing a monocle. So they decided to incorporate it into their names. Anyways, that's it for Ginger Ale and the Monowhales. I mean, there's lots more I could talk about, but what was your favorite tune?
Well, this was an album that sort of grew on me.
Yeah.
I would compare the sound of this particular album to, say, Garbage. There was certain things that sounded very garbagey.
Yeah.
To me in this. I thought it was very interesting because I was listening to that interview that the band gave.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that He Said, She Said was almost a non-song. They'd been working on it. They couldn't get it to go. It just, sometimes you get something that there's a core or a kernel in there that you really like, but you just can't get it to where you think it's actually works. And they were about to throw it out. And I guess the producer, Ryan Worsley, said, no, let's take a look at it. And to me, that's my favorite song on the album, is He Said, She Said. I just think it's catchy. It has a bunch of really nice hooks in it. I also liked Out with the Old and In with the New. By the way, I think that's just a nice little catchy thing she does there.
Yep.
And I also liked Over My Head. Those were my 3 favorites on the album. Though it's only 7 songs, so those are my favorites of the group. What were your particular favorites?
I really love all of the stuff that the Monowhales do, but He Said, She Said actually is one of my favorites, and also Out with the Old, but I love All or Nothing. So I don't know if I have, those would be my top 3, but the whole album, because they release songs in bits and pieces before they actually release the whole album. And I think All or Nothing was, no, Really Want to Let You Down was the very first one they released as a YouTube video.
And you can see a lot of these they obviously have their eye on stadiums, because these are very stadium-esque kind
They
of.
are. They're very stadium-esque. And actually, if you watch them, I've watched them perform. They're not just in the local clubs, but they performed in the Phoenix and the Danforth Music Hall. They just did a live show of the album, actually, in the El Macombo. And they're very engaging. Sally's very engaging with the audience, but the band is just so full of energy. It's like ants in your pants. So they really get the audience going. Yeah, excellent stadium songs for sure. They remind me a little bit of a British band called Bang Bang Romeo that I've been following.
I don't
And
know.
again,
Okay, everybody, Bang Bang Romeo is another band to look up. Now I got to look them up.
they're female lead as well, with a guitar player, drummer, and bass player, and same sort of energy that the very exuberant band, and very talented singer songwriters as well.
So I noticed that Holly Jameson co-wrote 6 of the 7 songs, and
Yes,
weirdly on the credits that I saw in Discogs, because my album hasn't arrived yet in the mail, that it's Holly Jameson and the Monowhales, so they don't get individual song credits. They're as Monowhales, but she gets an individual songwriting credit on.
yeah, I don't know what the agreement is with that. Holly is the one that left the band. She's a fabulous keyboard player. And all 4 of them are very instrumental, no pun intended.
And she's in some of the videos for these particular songs.
Yes, and they still consider her.
Quick decision to just leave.
I don't know if it was a quick decision. I think it's something that Holly has been leading up to. I don't think that I think my own personal opinion is they're all still very close friends, that we will see her back with the band on occasion, maybe guest appearances, but her heart has been in teaching musical therapy. So that's where she's gone.
Well, speaking of the members of the band, I wonder what is going on now with the band, because there's no credit for Sally playing any music, any instruments.
She doesn't.
So at the moment they're a 2-piece basically with a singer, and they have such a full sound. Do they augment that for hires? Or are they going to bring somebody in the band? I know that Zach Zarnato, he's a multi-instrumentalist, but he can't play them all at once on stage.
No,
what are they planning on doing to have this big stadium sound with 2 guys?
They will probably end up hiring somebody. I can't speak for the band. Actually, when I picked up my album, I was talking to Sally and Zach, and the band is actually currently in the studio as we speak, recording more music. So I didn't actually ask her, but they did have, when they first started out, a 5th member. I can't remember what his name is, and I actually never saw him perform. So it may have been just as the band was forming. Yeah. But I've seen a number of photographs with 5 members of the band. So undoubtedly they will end up having to bring somebody in.
Yeah. Brings me to my next thing, which was in Over My Head. Because these songs are big, belty songs, basically, but there's a few vocal little tricks or nuances that Sally puts in that song that going forward, especially since they've gone from a 5-piece to a 4-piece to a 3-piece with only 2 musicians, that it would be nice to hear some acoustic guitars and some acoustic pianos, and because she has a very pretty voice. She has a very, I think, flexible voice. It would be nice to have them do some sort of, maybe not even a full ballad, but a piece in a song where you drop down to that kind of more softer side of her voice rather than the belter, which she's obviously very good at. It would be nice to give it some sort of a little more, as you go forward, you want to spread your sound out, because you don't want every song to be sounding like the last song you did in kind of the same tempo, the same kind of vibe.
That's actually a good point. I've seen a lot of their shows, and I've never seen them sort of calm down.
Yeah.
As an acoustic. I mean, they're fans, and they have a huge fan base. They go in for, the dancing and the mosh pits and the whole 9 yards. And usually the bands that the bands that I've seen them open for, including Crownlands, I believe, are pretty rock and roll.
Yeah.
And Sally she's very petite. She might be 5 feet if she's an inch. So she's a real powerhouse on stage, and she's totally fearless. That just seems to be her attitude. Now, having her do a ballad, actually, that's a really interesting concept.
I'm not their manager. They can do what they want. I like this.
Yeah.
So where would you put this? 0 being Rob Schneider, 10 being best. Where would you?
I'm really partial to these guys, and I've been following them for 6 years. I love Daytona Bleach, so I'm going to have to say it's a 10.
Wow, a 10, a Sergeant Pepper, a Sergeant Pepper. This album. It started out to tell you the truth, it started out as about a 6 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But as I listened to it and got into it, it grew to probably an 8, 8.5, because I really liked it. I didn't like the last song, which is
I Don't Think About You.
I Don't Think About You. I thought was a bit of the songs. I thought it was a bit by the book, as opposed to, I thought there was genuine inspiration and interesting bits in the others.
Yeah.
And it was just their sound without bringing much to the table other than that. So yeah, and it's the last song on the album. Sometimes, you leave that song to the last. But the rest of the album I really liked. It's a good album, and it's well worth picking up. I've got my copy coming. So on the cover, give this cover.
The cover, I love the colors, and I love the fact that it's Daytona Bleach, and that's what bleach does to your clothing.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you look at it, you think Daytona Beach, and you have to do a double take on the cover and see Daytona Bleach. I give the cover, it's not a photograph. I give the cover an 8.5 to a 9.
I was not as kind, since I don't know the inner workings of Bleach.
Yeah.
So I thought it was probably a 5 to 5.5 for me. The colors are okay. I didn't think it's not that easy to see who the album is by. I would think that should have been a little bigger on there, just to give people more of a, when you're flipping through the records, you don't have to squint for, especially people our age.
Yeah.
So I would have given that a 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 9. The album cover appeals to me, but you're right. I give it a 9 because the name Monowhales is too small. It needs to be much bigger.
Yeah, I think it does. So I think there we are. We're relatively close. 10 from Pat. An 8.5, 8.5 from me. We differ slightly on the 9 and the 5 for the cover, but then I don't know anything about Bleach, so I think that's where we part company on that. So we'll be back with another album soon, and it's goodbye from me
and goodbye from me
and her.